Hey everyone, today we're really digging into something pretty universal, isn't it? Music.
Absolutely, it's everywhere.
From, the first songs we hear to the tunes that kind of define moments in our lives, its power is it's immense, goes beyond time, culture, words even.
It really does.
And for this deep dive, we're zeroing in on something specific.
Oh.
The way music education has, well, evolved. And there's this really cutting-edge approach popping up now that's kind of redefining how we learn music.
Right. And to unpack all that for you, we've gathered quite a bit of material. We've got info from a music academy's actual program description, some deep historical research on, believe it or not, piano teaching.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then we bring it right up to date with modern learning ideas, things like rhizomatic learning. It sounds complex, but we'll break it down.
Okay, sounds good. So our mission today, basically, is to look at how music education historically maybe hit some bumps in the road.
Definitely some bumps. And how these newer programs are learning from all that, using past lessons and these new theories to create something, well, better, more effective, more engaging, and really personalized for you learning music.
Yeah, exactly. More tailored.
So let's kick off right at the start. Music education, especially early on, seems so fundamental. But this isn't a new idea, is it? You mentioned history.
Not at all new. Its roots go way, way back. I mean, we have sources like Stamo from 2002 talking about how music wasn't always separate things.
What do you mean separate things?
Well, before around the 5th century BCE, things like melody, poetry, dance, they were all seen as one integrated art form. It wasn't like, here's the music, here's the poem. It was all woven together.
Huh, okay.
Only later did they start to sort of diverge, become their own things.
Wow. And you mentioned ancient thinkers.
Yeah, even someone like Plato, we're talking 428, 347 BCE, he genuinely believed that rhythm and harmony could actually shape your soul, deeply influence it.
Shape your soul. That's powerful stuff.
It really underscores how profound people thought music was, even thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
That power hasn't really faded.
No, it definitely hasn't, which makes you wonder, if it's so fundamental, why did teaching it, like you mentioned piano teaching, why did it sometimes go so wrong?
That's the transition, isn't it? From this deep philosophical value to the practicalities of teaching.
Yeah, what happened there? Our sources show that piano lessons, super common since the late 1800s, ran into trouble.
They did. Piano lessons became this huge thing. And as Fisher observed, while some musicians became performers or conductors, a lot of them ended up teaching. It was just a very common path.
Okay, makes sense. But the quality, that was the issue.
That's the crux of it. Dr. Sally Cathcart's research, she's got a book coming out in 2025, The Social History of Piano Teaching. She points out there was this explosion of, frankly, unqualified piano teachers back then.
Unqualified? How bad was it?
Pretty bad. They were often charging incredibly low fees,
Yeah.
sometimes as little as, get this, Thursday, which today is maybe about £1.21, just tiny amounts.
Wow. So you get what you pay for, maybe.
Often, yes. And the lessons themselves were described as haphazard, just random tutor books, technical drills.
Haphazard.
Yeah, often completely ignoring better methods that were around, like John Kerwin's ideas. He had this manual suggesting you build knowledge progressively, start easy,
Logical.
totally logical.
Yeah.
But Cathcart notes many teachers and even the books they used just didn't follow that kind of progressive thinking.
And wasn't it Mrs. Kerwin who complained about this?
That's right. She specifically lamented basic errors cropping up right from the start, especially with notation and rhythm. Just fundamental stuff being taught poorly.
So it sounds like this combination, low teaching standards, bad materials, it just led to, well, not great piano playing or musical understanding overall.
Exactly. A pretty low standard across the board became common. It must have been frustrating for everyone involved, really.
So what was the fix? How did they try to sort this out?
Well, the big historical solution, particularly in Britain, was the rise of graded music exams and official exam boards.
Ah, the grade system.
That created this whole system uniquely British, really, that brought in much-needed structure, some accountability, and clear, standardized expectations. It definitely imposed some order.
Okay, order was needed. But did that standardization maybe swing the pendulum too far the other way? Did it solve the real problem for every single learner?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Our sources really dig into this.
Yeah.
Because while structure is good, a totally one-size-fits-all approach, whether it's a single tutor book or a rigid exam syllabus,
It may not fit everyone.
precisely, it often misses the individual. And that's why today there's such value placed on teachers who are, constantly learning themselves.
Right, professional development.
Yeah, and who tailor their teaching. They offer flexibility within a structure. That's the key.
So, moving from that history, what's the really innovative thinking now? You mentioned rhizomatic learning. What is that?
Right, rhizomatic learning. It sounds a bit academic, but the idea is actually quite intuitive. It connects really well with these modern programs that use lots of different methods all linked together.
Okay.
So rhizome is from botany. Think of ginger root or some grasses. They spread horizontally underground, sending out shoots all over, with no single main taproot.
Ah, like a network, not a straight line down.
Exactly. It's learning that isn't just linear, A then B then C, or hierarchical like a tree. It grows outwards, connecting ideas in all sorts of ways, like this underground network. Adaptable, sprawling.
And it comes from philosophers.
Yeah, Gilles Deleuze and Felix Guattari, their book, A Thousand Plateaus. It's about seeing systems, including knowledge, in this nonlinear, interconnected way.
Okay, interesting. And how does this apply to teaching?
Well, there's this great blog post by Crozier from 2011, Building a Better Rhizome. He asked this really fundamental question: why do we teach?
Okay, why do we teach?
His point is, the ultimate goal maybe shouldn't just be to pass on what the teacher knows. It should be enabling the student to eventually surpass the teacher, to know more or differently.
Whoa, that's a big shift in thinking.
It really is.
So Crozier was arguing that sticking to a fixed curriculum, like those old piano books, can make students passive, just receivers.
Exactly. He says teachers should focus more on creating a context for learning, a rich environment. The goal isn't just, a series of remembered ideas reproduced for testing and quickly forgotten.
We've all been there.
Right. Instead, it should be something flexible that is already integrated with the other things a learner knows. It becomes part of you, connected to everything else you understand.
That makes so much sense. Knowledge that's woven in, not just stuck on top, more resilient.
Precisely. And this whole idea, this lessons as a map kind of thinking, directly inspired programs like the Triquetrae music programs we looked at.
Lessons as a map. I like that.
Yeah, instead of just a list of tasks, each level or stage is seen as a field, an area for the student to explore, discover things, really engage with the musical concepts.
So it's less about following rigid steps and more about exploring territory.
You got it. The journey becomes this collaborative thing. The teacher is your guide, knows the terrain.
And the student is the explorer.
Exactly. Now, obviously, some things are essential. You need to know how to make a sound, understand basic notes, rhythm, tempo. Like, a map reader needs basic skills or needs to know not to swim in dangerous water.
Right, the fundamentals.
But how you explore the rest, the sequence, can vary. It becomes a genuine adventure in music learning.
Which brings us to this specific program, the Triquetrae Elementary Program. It's for young kids, right? Applying this map idea directly.
Correct. It's designed for young children, really embodying that philosophy.
Yeah.
It's built around 7 core components or zones.
7 zones. Okay, what are they?
They have these action-focused names: find, create, grow, develop, achieve, explore, and build. Each one targets different musical skills. Things like articulation, composing, listening are woven in as subskills.
Find, create, grow. It sounds very active.
It is, and it's structured across 4 progressive levels, aiming for this really integrated musical development. Not just separate skills, but how they work together.
And you mentioned it's adaptable.
Highly adaptable. Works for one-on-one lessons or in a classroom. They use these things called TQ worksheets, which are brilliant. They're categorized by skill level: all, many, most, some, few.
Ah, so the teacher can pick the right level of challenge for each kid, or even different parts of a concept for different kids.
Precisely. It's built-in differentiation. Makes it much easier to cater to individual needs within the same topic.
That's clever. How are the zones themselves structured?
So within each zone, the materials cover everything needed for that area, and it's broken down really small. Each zone has 12 rows, tackling concepts in tiny, manageable steps.
12 rows. Okay. Ensures nothing gets missed.
Yeah, it aims for really thorough understanding. And again, it helps with differentiation. A teacher can select the specific rows or materials a particular student needs, whether they need more support or are ready to jump ahead. No one feels left behind or held back.
Now, there is something interesting about the order of the zones.
Ah, yes. For the musicians listening, this is quite neat. The 7 zones, find, create, grow, develop, achieve, explore, build, are intentionally arranged following the order of sharps in a key signature.
F, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, B sharp. Okay, that is a cool detail. For non-musicians, it's like a logical sequence baked in.
Exactly. Think of it as just a clear underlying educational framework. It provides structure.
And this seems important based on the rhizome idea. Does that order mean you have to teach them F sharp, then C sharp, then G sharp?
No, and that's the crucial part. Despite that framework, it doesn't lock you into a rigid sequence. The zones are designed to be interconnected.
Ah, like the map again. You can move between areas.
Precisely. They actually compare it to the hexagonal cells of a honeycomb. Each cell is distinct but connected to others. You can move between zones flexibly, integrate ideas, follow the student's curiosity or needs. It allows for that integrated rhizomatic exploration we talked about.
So the honeycomb, that's a great visual. Makes sense. And just for attribution, who's behind this?
The company is Triquetrae Limited, and the core copyrighted ideas trace back to Chris Caton Greasley in 1991 and Andrew Brumpton Turner in 2012.
Got it. So quite a journey we've taken here from those sometimes rocky beginnings of music teaching.
The haphazard days, yeah.
Through the need for structure with exams, and now landing on these really innovative, flexible, map-like approaches inspired by rhizomatic thinking, like Triquetrae.
It really highlights a shift, doesn't it? The understanding that truly effective learning, especially in something creative like music, needs to go beyond just following a strict recipe.
Yeah, it's about exploration, adapting, finding your own path through the material.
Exactly. Building knowledge that's connected and meaningful to you personally.
So let's leave everyone with a final thought then. Thinking about this map-based or rhizomatic idea, the teacher as guide, the learner as explorer, how could that apply more broadly? How could you apply that to your own learning, whatever it is you're trying to master? Or even think about education in other fields. How do we all get better at moving beyond just, cramming for a test?
And forgetting it right after.
Yeah. How do we build that flexible, integrated knowledge that actually sticks around and helps us grow? What does your learning map look like? Something to think about.